Welcome to Reclaimed, the podcast, a sanctuary for women ready to stop surviving and really start thriving. I am Kyla Gagnon, breathwork facilitator, empowerment leader, and guide to bring you home to your feminine power. It is time you reclaim what is yours. In this space, we soften, we feel, we heal, we rise together. Sit back, relax. This is Reclaimed. Hi, sweet queens. Welcome back to the podcast. I have with me not only a incredible friend of mine, but my business coach for 3 years, Nicole Crone, on today. I'm so excited to chat with Nicole. Nicole is a trained leadership coach and NLP practitioner. As a former high school teacher, yoga instructor, and waitress, Nicole's whole life experience has involved people. She's an Aries generator with a sacral authority in human design, aka a fiery idea machine. And if you know her, you know this is so true. She cannot resist coffee, French fries, or anything in the apple cinnamon category. She's been filling journals since she was 12 and has tons of them in her office that hold all of her life's dreams, secrets, and thoughts. She's married to the love of her life, Jeff. Nicole can often be found outdoors, along the waters, or within trails. If you do not know Nicole yet, enjoy. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. I feel like this has been, well, it feels like I've had the podcast for multiple years, but as we discussed recently, it's been 1 year, but it feels like this has been coming, you know? I think we've talked about this probably a year ago. So thanks for sticking it out with me and coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like full circle in that the whole way that we got connected together is me reaching out to you in 2021 and saying, hey, want to come on my podcast?
Yeah, exactly. So much has happened since then. We'll get into that. As I do, I'm going to ask you one question that I know I am for sure asking you.
Okay.
Everything else after that will be what it is. But Nicole, my beauty, what are you currently reclaiming?
I should have been prepared for this. What am I reclaiming? I am reclaiming, actually what I'm working on right now, reclaiming, is that I actually really like structure. And in the last 5 years of being full-time entrepreneur, I created a beautiful scenario in my mind of what that should look like. And it has been slow mornings and no alarms and move at my own pace. And yet I've been fighting with myself for the last 5 years to be like, why am I not moving my body the way I used to? Why am I not like getting up and getting shit done in the morning the way I used to? And when I say the way I used to, I mean when I was an employee, when I had to be somewhere by a certain time. I think back to when I was a teacher. If I knew I had to be in my classroom at like 7:30, 7:45, I was up and at the gym, workout in, showered, hair done, breakfast, ready to go. And there's a part of me that's been really craving that and missing that. But I felt like, oh, if I set an alarm and get up early, am I really living the entrepreneurial dream? So I am reclaiming right now that I write my own rules, and that I am a very free spirit who really thrives in structure that I create for myself. So I don't have to look around at how anybody else is setting up their day or their morning or what makes them feel productive or good. I'm reclaiming what works for me.
I relate to that so much. Oh my God. And it's like, I don't know, I'll just speak for myself, but for me, like I spent so much of my life really in a rigid structure, like in fitness, and I had clients every hour. And so it was like, okay, I would eat at this time and I would have this many minutes to eat. And,
right.
I don't even, that whole time. Anyways, very structured. And then I stepped into, it's funny. I was going to say I stepped into entrepreneurship, but I've always only ever worked for myself. But things shifted. Let's just say that things shifted. I left that industry and went like full pendulum swing over to the feminine side, where it was just like, wow, like what do I even do with myself?
Freedom.
Freedom. And I, like you, really like structure, we thrive there.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a
Yeah.
study? I don't remember who did it or even where I first heard this. You've probably heard it before. Maybe you're the one that told it to me. But there was a group of school children, and they were testing like boundaries and structure with these children, and so they let them out at like recess
Mm.
to a field with like a huge field with a fence, full perimeter. And the kids went out and played in every crevice of this field. They hit every boundary. They went to every corner. They played on the edges of the fence. They played in the middle. They played everywhere. And then the next day, when they were let out to this field, there was no fence, and they all huddled in the middle because they didn't know where they were allowed to be. There was no structure. There was no boundary. There was no containment. And I don't think that's just children. Like, structure is so important.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, and that really resonates. And I think that, you know, you've heard me say many times, like, systems will set you free. Um, a structure can be a system that you put in your life. And I think that, like, I wanted, when I felt like I didn't have it, time and location freedom so badly that when it was given to me, if that's not what you've ever had, I didn't really know what to do with it. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's been years of realizing, like, there is no one right way to start your day and go through your day and run your business and be an entrepreneur and do all these things. And so just really realizing, like, I don't love an alarm for sure. But I do love getting up and crushing my morning. So it's like, which one do you want more?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And if
I
I
love
want to
that.
sleep in, then I can. Like,
Totally.
the world's not going to end if there's a day where I'm like, you know what? I did originally think I was going to get up early today, but I'm going to hit snooze and I don't actually have to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's freedom.
Yeah.
That's it. Um, Tell the people who don't know you, because I know a little bit about your story. I'd like to think I know a lot about your story, but that there's many aspects I don't know about your story. But your current life, and I think you'll probably do this until the day you decide not to work anymore, but maybe not. You're a
Mhm.
business coach. And you're very, very good at it. And I would like to know, and I'm sure the people want to know that journey. Like, did you just, were you like out of the womb wanting to be a business coach?
No. No.
Okay.
But things are tracking. The math is mapping that I am
As it
here.
does. Uh-huh.
Yeah. When we look back at, say, childhood, for example, I had a really good childhood. I feel quite exceptionally rare in my upbringing in that there weren't a lot of like restrictions. There wasn't anger, there wasn't punishment, there was no quiet down, don't try that out. There was a lot of figure it out on your own. Like, go try it
Mm-hmm.
out and figure it out without like repercussions or anything like that. And when I think back to being a little kid, one of the things I always really wanted was to have a microphone in front of me. Like, give me the damn microphone. I want to talk. I want to be center stage. I've got stories to tell and dances to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in my journey throughout, like, being a child and a teenager and stuff like that, went from, like, the little books you fill out as a kid, what do you want to be when you get older? Mine would say artist. I really liked, just really just coloring, not like doing anything profound, just coloring. I want to be an artist. Okay, I had my little thing that I would stencil and stuff like that. And then as I became an early teenager, like 13, 14, I can remember at the time my best friend Jillian and I, we would sit in her room and we would do all of these like hocus pocus things of like making candles and lotions and potions and stuff. And we would draw out how we were going to decorate our loft that we were going to share in New York when we moved there and got famous. So that's what like 13, 14, 15-year-old Nicole was like. Then I really was like, I want to move to Broadway. I want to act. I want to be famous. Like, this is the path for me. I loved like any sort of thing that would require acting in high school. And I came from a really small town, 2,000, 3,000 people. I didn't know anybody going to Hollywood. I didn't know anybody going to New York or Broadway to be an actress. And so I kind of was just like, what's more realistic? And then when I went to go graduate high school, the very long story made super short is I didn't want to go to post-secondary. I wanted to travel. Every fiber of my being wanted to travel. But my friends and my teachers, all my friends were going to post-secondary, and my teachers were like, you're pretty good at school. You should go do this. And I felt that pressure. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, how can I be on TV? And I really like weather patterns. I'm going to be a meteorologist. So I go into university. I'm going to be a meteorologist. I'm going to get to be on TV. I'm going to live out the dream. And the first year of just like basic Bachelor of Arts, the sciences with that, I was like, this is not going to work. So I just stuck it out for 4 years and got a Bachelor of Arts. I graduated. I was no further ahead in terms of being employed than people who didn't have post-secondary, and I just had a shitload of debt. And so me and all my girlfriends who also all had Bachelor of Arts, we were no further ahead. We weren't employable. We just had a lot of debt. We were like, well, we could move to Alberta and move to Banff. So that was the start of my journey of like, ooh, I'm going to get to travel when I was 22. And I met a lot of people. They were really nomadic. They'd been traveling all over the world. I mean, Banff, Canmore, that area attracts people that, come and snowboard from all over. So I met all these cool people, heard lots of stories, started to travel. This is when I I was in the hospitality industry. So bartending, waitressing all day, all night. And when I wasn't doing that, I was just partying with all the people I worked with, and starting to travel, which was really fun. And then I hit my mid 20s. And when I say mid 20s, I think like 24 turning 25. And I can remember I had one friend tell me she was getting engaged and that she was pregnant. And then my next friend was like, I'm getting engaged. And then another friend was like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, I'm behind.
Right.
I'm behind and I don't like this feeling. I don't want to be behind. What can I do to be at the same pace that everybody else is at? So I thought, well, I could go back to school. In Nova Scotia, to become a teacher, it's a 2-year degree, but the only way you can get into that 2-year degree is if you have a 4-year degree in a Bachelor of Arts or Science. So I was like, okay, I can go get this other 2-year degree. I can get more debt. I can get more schooling. And I thought, well, teacher will be fun. I think it will be easy, and I'll get my summers off. And I love being a beach bum. So sign me up. So I go back to school for another 2 years at like 25, 26, graduate when I'm 27. And I graduated and I truly thought, Kyla, with every fiber of my being, this was it. I was like, I have checked the boxes. I've got the big girl job. I'm going to have a kick-ass pension, benefits. Sign me up for that massage, baby. All 5 of them a year you get with your benefits. Sign me up. And my own classroom said Miss McClellan on the door. I'm like, this is legit. I'm going to go buy all my dresses and heels and I'm getting a paycheck. This is awesome. I was engaged. I thought this has to be how I'm supposed to feel.
Yeah.
This is the path of how I'm supposed to feel. And I very quickly, I say very quickly, it was 2 years into that teaching job and I was in a northern community. It was pretty isolated. I was away from everybody. I had a salary of over $80,000 a year. I wasn't like scraping pennies, that's for sure. But I had nothing to show for that salary because every moment that I could get out of that small town, I was booking a flight and I was going somewhere and I was binge drinking, partying off the rails to totally disassociate what my life was Monday to Friday in this town, in this classroom. Not that I didn't like teaching, but it was like the politics of teaching and the being somewhere that I didn't want to be and being told something that I didn't want to be told. I love teenagers and I love being a teacher. And I don't know when I would have ever left, but the universe has an interesting way of working. And when I turned 29, it was the summer of 2015, so it was 10 years ago. I found out that my ex-fiance was cheating. And so I called off our wedding. We had already had our wedding booked, planned. We were going to the Dominican, his family, my family, all of our friends. And so I canceled the wedding, but my family and I all still went to the Dominican. So I canceled the wedding, but I went back up north to teach. Like our relationship ended in July and I had already signed a contract. And so I had another school year to fulfill, the 2015, 2016 year. And for anybody that might listen to this that knew me in high level in 2015, 2016, I don't know who she was. That was a version of me that was off the rails. Like, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's night and day. When I tell people who only know me now what my life was like then, they're like, I cannot picture that. I could put on such a face Monday to Friday in the classroom. And then I was that town's biggest party animal from Friday at 4 p.m. until Sunday night. And then I was like, oh, straight face, have to go be Miss McClellan again. And I was depressed and I was miserable and I was not well. And thankfully, I had an EA, like an educational assistant in my classroom. Thankfully, she loved me enough that she reached out to my mom. She'd never met my mom. My mom lives in Nova Scotia. And she said, we're all pretty concerned about Nicole. Like, she's not well. And I had been having panic attacks in the bathroom at school and not telling anybody. She told my mom. I didn't know all this until afterwards, till like I was done at the job and left. My mom was like, oh yeah, Asia kept us up to date and informed, and that's how we all knew. So my sister asked me, or my sister and I went away for my 30th birthday that year in 2016, and she said, you can't keep living up there. You can't keep living in isolation. You can't keep living alone. Why do you keep living in the middle of nowhere? All of this for a job. Why don't you just take a year off? And for anybody who's listening to this episode, I want you to know that that one statement completely altered my thinking. Take a year off. That didn't even feel like something I could do. I thought if I signed up to be a teacher or I signed up for my job, I was in that for 30 years.
Yeah.
So taking a year off, nobody had ever gave me that idea before. And you hear people say like somebody breathed belief into me. My sister in that moment, granted, we were a few margaritas poolside in Vegas, was like, you need to take a year off and go do something for yourself. And so I contemplated that, and a week went by. We got home from Vegas. The following week, we went to the Dominican for what was supposed to be my wedding. And I'm still thinking about what my sister had said previously. And in the airport, in Edmonton Airport, I picked up the book, You Are a Badass. Not You Are a Badass with Money, just You Are a Badass, Jen Sincero. And that was my first personal development book because I wasn't into personal development.
Wow. You're the first person I've heard who it wasn't an Eckhart Tolle book.
No, it wasn't an Eckhart Tolle book.
Good.
It was Jen Sincero, You Are a Badass. And I was, up to that point, I had been reading grade 7 textbooks or not reading at all. I thought reading was boring.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pick up this book and I'm like, well, can't hurt to read it on my little vacation, supposed to be getting married. And I read the book and I close the book and I said, I'm going to go home and resign. And so I came back from that week in Dominican and I walked into my principal's office and I said, it's been an incredible 3 years. Thank you for everything. I'm going to take a year off. And he was like, that's not how this works. That's cute. But that's not how this works. If you take a year off, you're taking forever off because it's seniority based. So you won't get your position back. And him and a bunch of other people were like, you're crazy to pass up this opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, no, I have to go. So then I went online and I looked up working holiday visa Australia because flashback to when I lived in Canmore and met all the Aussies, my friend married one. So I was like, convenient. I'm going to go. My best friend from high school and university married one of those Aussie guys. So I'm going to go stay with her and see what happens. And so I get a working holiday visa at 30. I moved to Australia. I spent most of my days doing nothing, which was quite nice. Being a beach bum, I was in the Gold Coast. There's like 300 plus days of sunshine a year.
Oh my God.
I started reading. I was journaling. I met one person who met another person who met another person. And then I got introduced to coaches. And I had never heard of coaching before outside of like sports. It totally blew my mind. I thought that's exactly what I want to do. And and I was dating a coach. Like, that's how I got into it. I was dating this guy, and he was asking me fascinating questions that I had never been asked before. And so that planted the seed. And then when my visa was up in Australia and I moved back to Canada, I chose Victoria. So I landed here in 2017. And I had quite a few turbulent years here. Like, my first couple of years here were really hard. I had no friends. I didn't know anybody. I got a minimum wage job at Lululemon, found my roommates on Craigslist, and I was like, I'm going to figure this out at 31. I'm starting all over again. Now I really feel behind because my friends that were getting married, they bought their homes. Now they're settling down. Second, third babies are on their way. Heck, some of them are in divorce phase at this point. And I'm like, still just like with my backpack from Australia, gonna figure out life here. And one of the coaches that I met in Australia, he called me up and he was like, I want you to work with me. And so he had me start coaching with him, and he flew me to Hawaii, and I got to do some coaching there. And then I met this woman in Victoria, and she asked me to go for a walk, and she was like, I think you'd be an incredible coach. Would you work with me? Everybody was seeing that I would be a great coach, but I wasn't believing it because I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. My parents aren't entrepreneurs. None of my friends were. It just felt like such a world of risk. And I'm a risk taker, but it felt like a world of unknown, I guess. And finally in 2019, I went and did my coach training, and I was a leadership coach in the beginning. And it's funny how it's full circle. I ended up coaching Edmonton Public School Board. That was my first big contract. So I'm coaching people who were like principals and vice principals and superintendents and all that sort of stuff, people who were way above me in the school board. And now I'm coaching them. And then that led to like leadership coaching led to, that's not what I want to do. What do I want to do? I want to do manifestation mindset coaching. Okay, that's cool. That led into meeting Kayla, and we built out My Aligned Purpose with Manifesting Money Masterclass. And because that one course had such success right off the hop, right away, people started to ask us, how did you build a successful business? And so it was less than 8 months, if I do the math, that people were like, will you business coach me? So I'm a generator in human design. My strategy is to respond. And I was like, I guess I can business coach you. I mean, to me, coaching is coaching. You're either a good coach or you're not a good coach. Whatever the topic is, if you have lived experience in it, then I think you can go for it. Like, would I make a great divorce coach? No. A mom's coach? No. But I've had businesses. So, yoga business and retreats and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I guess we can step into this world, and the rest is kind of history.
History, good history. Okay, you said some words that first of all, I didn't know all of your story. That was really fun to hear. I had no idea you wanted to be a meteorologist. I find that really adorable.
I still kind of I'm really fascinated with the weather. Like Jeff and I, we woke up this morning and I grabbed my watch and he was like, what are you doing? I was like, checking the weather. I just love to know weather patterns that are going on, cyclones, hurricanes, tsunamis. I could watch documentaries on all these things. I love that stuff.
Okay, side quest. Did you feel the earthquakes?
No.
You didn't feel either of them?
No, I feel like I'm missing out on something. I was sleeping like a baby with my white noise on.
Good for you. I felt both of them. It's super creepy. Okay, I digress. Okay, so you spoke about manifestation, and I know that that's a huge part of your life. When did that become, 2 questions. When did that become part of your life? Because I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it in your life before you took the year off, or was that year off what really brought that in? So that's question 1. It's kind of 2 in 1. Second is, in your words, can you explain what it is?
Well, actually, I have a journal down there that okay.
Get it. Get it. Holding. We're holding.
Okay. This little journal.
Okay.
I just found the other day. I mean, I've got lots of journals floating around my office right now. And inside of it has pictures of 2 of my favorite students, Kenzie and
gosh.
Dalen. Kenzie is coming to She Leads.
Stop it.
Isn't that amazing? Like,
yes.
Full circle moment. She's like 23 now.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So this journal says Sunday, August 30th, 2015.
Okay.
And it says, well, it's not exactly day one of my new life, of my new story, but it is the first time I'm writing about it on paper. So 10 years ago. And when I was reading through this journal, it's post breakup of the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading about how I want to manifest, like I will show you, that I want to manifest moving to British Columbia so that I can be near my sister.
Okay.
To.
Because she was in Seattle at the time, yeah?
Yeah, she's been here. She's been there since 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm writing down in this journal. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it exactly because the pages are filled here, but that I want to manifest those words, moving to British Columbia to be near my sister. So if I think about it, I know that I definitely talked about manifestation in my classroom to the students that would listen.
Okay.
I think that I can't remember the exact moment, but I know that when I moved to Canmore, when I was 22, and my girlfriend that I moved with a few girlfriends, but one of them, the one that married the Aussie guy, she was really into everything that I had never heard of before. She was into manifesting and plant medicine and astrology, like just all of the things I had never heard of. And she had all of these cool books around the house on DMT, the spirit molecule. And so if I had to take a guess, I think I started getting into manifesting when I was 22 at that point in time in Canmore.
So good.
Yeah, pretty good. And then my mom throughout my life, but especially throughout my 20s and 30s, has said, like, you can and will get everything you want. I've never met anybody who says that they want something and then it happens for them. And I'm like, that's just manifesting, mom. So I think that like through the better part of my 20s and 30s, I've always really been into it. What manifesting means to me in the simplest of forms is creating a vision in your mind, a picture in your mind. And I mean like an actual picture, as if you can see something like a photograph and you see it in your mind. And when you see that image in your mind, typically it's of the future because we don't manifest the past. The past is, times a weird topic, but the past has already happened and you can let the past influence that image that you see in the future. I try not to. I try to create something out of a blank slate, but you create a picture that you can actually see and you want to see yourself in that picture as if it's like you're imagining that you're holding a picture of yourself in the scenario. And so when you can see in your mind's eye that you can see yourself in an experience with a person, a place, or a thing in an experience, and you see that in your mind's eye, and then your body has some sort of visceral response. Hopefully we're leaning on the edge of like a good visceral response, something around like joy or excitement or freedom or love or gratitude or something like that. So you connect the thought, you connect the feeling, and then you just wait. I have no pressure on the timeline. You just wait until in this 3D experience, you're like, I saw that in my mind before. And then I think that's manifesting. Now, do I think that there's like a million other steps to make something happen in life to manifest it? Absolutely. Like I believe you have to take action on things. And I believe that, you have to let go of control and you can't grip onto the how or the when. But I think as long as you know what it is that you want and why it is that you want it, you can trust that universe, source, God, whatever is going to co-conspire to allow you to experience that.
Yeah. And I feel like there's just so much written about it and documented about it. You can't really argue it. Like it's kind of science, yeah?
Yeah. And people that say they don't believe in manifesting, I just, my cheeky response is you're just not good at it. Like, come learn how to be good at manifesting and then you'll believe in it.
Yeah. Okay, tell me or tell us, this is a very selfish thing to say. It's not just me here, but tell us, what are some of your favorite things that you've manifested?
Oh
And
my
yeah,
God.
what was that like?
I have so many.
I know you do.
But okay, let's start with well, okay. So when I first moved to Australia, I moved in October of 2016. 3 weeks later, I went to my first plant medicine ceremony. I went to ayahuasca 3 weeks into moving there.
It's no big
And
deal.
Yeah. And then my journal notes from being at ayahuasca, some scribble little things in the dark, say like, there's a book coming through me and I want to write a book and I don't know what it's about. And so like, cool. That's, I'm starting to see that. And then I come home from ayahuasca and now it's November and I'm starting to have sleepless nights and I'm waking up in the middle of the night with all these ideas of like what a book could be about my experience of teaching. And typical me would journal things, but in this manifestation, I felt really compelled to put things in a Google Doc. So I was like, oh yeah, remembering this story and that story and blah, blah, blah. I knew what I wanted. I want to write a book. Why did I want to write it? Well, I think writing a book would be pretty cool. I think that would be pretty awesome to say that I've written a book. So I know what I want. I know why I want it, when, how, not my control. I kind of like stop waking up in the middle of the night over the holidays, over the Christmas holidays. January, I go on Tinder for the first time in my life. I meet this guy. We go on a date. We hit it off. We have some really fun dates. He's like, you've got amazing stories. You should write a book. I was like, it's so funny you say that. I want to write a book and I actually have like lots of Google Docs ready to go. He's like, oh, I can introduce you to my friend that owns a publishing company. Introduces me to his friend. I hear the price of what it costs to go away for a week to write the book. It's like $11,000, $12,000. I'm like, I am living off credit cards right now. There's no way I can make that happen. And then I go home, I get off the call. I was out with one of my friends at a cafe and I thought, I really want to write a book. I really want this to work. I want it to happen. I can see it. I can see that I have a book in my hands. And then like in my brain, shot into my brain out of nowhere, I remembered, oh my gosh, I have a pension that I paid into from teaching. And I could pull that pension, I'm sure. So from Australia, I'm like, call up Alberta Teacher Retirement Fund. I'm like, hey, do I have a pension? They're like, yes, you do. And because you taught with us for less than 5 years, sorry, something just popped up here. Because you've taught with us for less than 5 years, you're actually allowed to pull it. Okay. Send it over, please. So, of course, the Canadian government taxes me like $12,000 on this money or something like that. But what they ended up handing over to me was $18,000. I had never been given that amount of money in my life. So I pay the $11,000 or $12,000 for the book retreat. I'm like, hey, you got a website girl and a brand design person? Pay for all of that, blah, blah, blah. Get my book. I go and write my book. It all happened. It was all like click, 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 click. So that's one of my favorite manifestations, is how the book came to be. I've manifested incredible vacations, so many that I actually can't count. But one of my favorite ones is my girlfriend Nikita, who I met here in Victoria, reached out to me and she was like, hey, I'm going to Wellspring. It's in Palm Springs. It's in the desert. It's going to be amazing. There's all these cool speakers there. Do you want to go? I didn't have the money. I was like, sorry, I can't make it happen. And she slides over this application to get a scholarship. And I thought, well, why would I get the scholarship? Anyway, I fill it out. I get the scholarship. And then I tell my friend Sam, who I met here, and she's like, oh, my mom has 2 timeshares there. I bet you could stay in one. So this friend's mom lets me stay in her timeshare. And then my mom, who has never paid for anything in my adult life, I've never asked her to. So, she had no reason to step up and say that she'd pay for anything. She's like, oh, I can cover your flight. I've got extra air miles. So my flight got covered, my accommodation got covered, and I got to go to this Wellspring event. And the guest speakers were incredible. It was like Russell Brand and all these amazing people. And I got to see like Nicole Cardoza. And it was an incredible trip. So I got to manifest that. And then manifesting Jeff, my husband.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, ultimately the best manifestation to date. In the summer of 2020, I was working through my own stuff, coming out of a really hard breakup. And, in reflection, it was not that the breakup itself was super meaningful or the relationship itself was super meaningful. That was the straw that broke the camel's back of, what am I doing wrong that I'm the common denominator, that I keep attracting these men who aren't available, or they're cheating, or they have no ambition? Like, what am I doing? And I finally took responsibility. I was like, this is me. This is a me problem. I have to sort out my magnet here. I am magnetizing the wrong thing. So I spent that summer really focusing on working on me, being like my most magnetic self, being so incredibly like attractive and like dateable, and while doing that, I was scripting exactly how my person would make me feel when we walked into a room together. And some of the key elements were, this person is like everybody's best friend. Like everybody loves this guy. He's got good energy when he walks into a room. And when I walk into a room with him, I feel that way too. And it was interesting because as I was scripting that, I scripted that same script for 6 weeks. And a couple of weeks before meeting Jeff, I went on a few dates. My chiropractor set me up with somebody and we went out. The moment that we met in the place to meet up for drinks, I was like, no, not it. It wasn't about how he looked. It was like the energy of us interacting. I was like, no, not it. This guy messaged me on Instagram and he was a realtor here. And he was like, hey, do you want to go on a date? So I said, yes. Same thing. Super nice guy. Nothing wrong with him. But I was like, this is not how I feel when I write my script. Couple other dates. And then I meet Jeff, and all of my friends are like, well, Jeff is stereotypically exactly what you would love. Tall, dark, handsome, brown skin, big rugby player. Like that's just what I like. But aside from all that, I'm chatting to him the very first night that we talk and we get on the phone together. He's like, oh yeah, I just got back from Portugal. I was best man in this wedding, and I'm in my other buddy's wedding, and I'm uncle to all of my friends' kids, and blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, this is it. He's everybody's friend. He's in their weddings. He's Uncle Jeff to all the friends' kids. He's got a solid circle with people. People like him. He's a good person. He's reliable. He's funny. And then when we met up in person, I knew that night. I texted my sister. I texted my family chat. My sister side messaged me. She's like, this has got to be serious if you're putting it in the family chat. I wrote and said, I just had the most amazing date with this guy. I really like him. And at my wedding, my sister was my maid of honor. She went back and took screenshots of all of those texts, printed them out and blew them up on big pieces of like paddles.
Oh my
So
gosh.
when she's at her speech, she's like, okay. Subject 1, Nicole says, I've stalked him on LinkedIn. Looks like he's good to go. I was like, no, don't say anything else that I've said. And we had all of the texts and messages back and forth of me like saying like in the family chat, and then messaging her being like, oh my God, I think he's so hot. And he's such a nice guy. And here's what he does. And blah, blah, blah. And it all got revealed at the wedding. But yeah, he's my best manifestation.
Yeah. And he truly lights a room up when he walks in. We have photographic proof of that actually from the event. He lights it up. Wow. You guys light it up together. You guys are such a great couple.
Thank you. I feel like the universe was finally like, all right, we'll do you a solid. You've had a hard go with these men. We'll finally give you what you're ready for.
This season's podcast is sponsored by Breathe with Kyla. If you have been feeling stuck in your head, overwhelmed by emotions, or just craving a deeper connection to yourself, I have to tell you about Breathe with Kyla. This is my breathwork mentorship space designed to support women just like you, just like me. Inside, we gather weekly to breathe, release, reconnect, drop in, learn, educate, open up conversations that people in our life aren't having. It's a safe place for us to come and have these conversations that no one else is having. Soften out of that constant hustle mode and create space for calm, clarity, and confidence. Truly. This is not just a membership. It's truly a mentorship. It's a homecoming, a space where you get to feel deeply supported, held, and reminded of your own power every single week. If you are ready to breathe life into the version of you who you know is inside, come and join us. Head to the link in the show notes. Use code podcast for a special little sweet treat for me. I love you so much. We'll see you inside. Yeah, I love that. Okay, tell me a little bit about, because on top of manifestation, I know that NLP is really, really a huge piece of your coaching. So tell us a little bit about what that is, but I don't know the journey of how it came into your life. I would love to know.
Yeah. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And if you YouTube it, you're going to see all bros. It's all men. There's like barely any women in the space. And I can't really quite understand why. But okay, what NLP really is. So neuro is how you take in things through your five senses. So how your neurons perceive things, whether you hear something, taste something, see something, touch something, that sort of thing. Meaning that, like I could hear a song and it takes me right back to a moment in time, and then it elicits a feeling in my body. And you might be in the same room as me and hear that same song, but because you have no connection to it, it means nothing to you. And so it doesn't stir up any imagery or emotion in your mind and body. But for me, because I have a connection to it, it brings up a subconscious image, and then that subconscious image creates an emotion in the body. And now I'm like feeling something, whether good, not good or bad. I'm feeling something that either feels quite elevated or something that feels kind of heavy. And the L part of NLP is linguistic. It's that internal language that we don't even realize we're saying. It's so deeply rooted in the subconscious. And then it's externally how we speak. And then the P is program, or I like to say pattern, routine, habits. It's like how you live your day, essentially. And when the way I first got introduced to NLP was my first coach, which was my friend Dave. He was trained in NLP. And then the first guy that I date, or the guy that I dated that was also coach, he went to all Tony Robbins events. And Tony Robbins, I think, I could be biased in saying this, but I think when anybody thinks of NLP, they think of Tony Robbins, but I could be wrong in saying that. But Tony Robbins isn't the creator of NLP, but he's certainly the person who like brought it to stages and podcasts and YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And so the way I got coached was through NLP. And so that's kind of really like all I knew to begin with. And then I got really lucky that I did my coach training through CTI, the Coactive Institute, and they have NLP aspects to their coaching as well. They lean more on the intuitive side, which is really cool because it's leadership coaching, but it's based off of, we did all of these practices to test our intuition, which is really fascinating.
Yeah.
And then in early 2020, I took a foundations NLP course, and I've read like every book I can get my hand on it. And I love Tony Robbins. Like I feel like if I need a refresher of NLP, I like to go to Tony Robbins. And then actually the only other woman that I've really heard, two other women that I've heard talk about it in this space is Dr. Tara Swart, who wrote, what's the name of her book? I can't think of what her book's called, but I know that you know it and we've all read it. Yeah, she is a doctor who talks about NLP. And then Reese something or other from Toronto, who is the creator of Yes Method or Supply Method. Yes Supply?
Yeah.
She's also NLP.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like there's some really cool people in the space, and I'm going to also just claim myself as being somebody who's like really into it in the space. I love NLP, and I feel like what it's taught me is I can hear right away somebody's limiting belief. Like soon as somebody starts talking, if they're like, I want this, but I don't have it. I want this, but I can't get it. I want this, but it feels far away. I can hear right away what it is that's blocking them.
Yeah. Because specifically of the NLP training.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. I've experienced it a little bit. It really, again, it's one of those things that like, I'm not really sure you can argue the validity of it.
Again, it was created by a group of psychologists and therapists and scientists in the 70s. Like it's not old. It's not much older than us.
Yeah.
Where it was really created to stop people from doing things with their hands that involved like physical things. So stopping people from picking up a cigarette and bringing it to their mouth, stopping people who were overeating from picking up a donut and bringing it to their mouth. And then they realized like, oh, this doesn't have to just be like a physical hand to mouth motion. This can be everything in our world, because everything in our world starts with an image in our mind that elicits a feeling in our body, or vice versa. The feeling in your body, if you're like, oh, something's off, if you try and put a picture to what that is, like they're just so interconnected.
Fun story. I think I might have told you, but we're going to Portugal in May. Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
222. We're going to Portugal in May so that Cam can take his NLP training with Tony Robbins' teacher.
Yes.
So
Is he going with Richard Bandler? Is that who it is? Do you
I'm
know?
not even sure his name. I can
Oh,
confirm for you, but he lives in Portugal. He only does his trainings in Portugal. He's old.
it's probably Richard Bandler who's the creator of it.
Yeah, it might be. I think it is. I think it is. I just didn't want to say it without being 100% confirmed, but I'm pretty sure. It was like a really big deal. Cam was like, I'm going to the best of the best of the best. And
It's amazing. NLP is, it's so, so, so cool.
Yeah.
It is scientific heavy. So if you're not somebody that's like into science and then understanding it and then like breaking it down for other people to understand it, then like maybe it's not your thing, but I nerd out on that shit. So I'm like, give me all of it.
Yeah. Well, and we need people like you to nerd out on it so that you can drip it to those who aren't nerding out. And eventually we can have enough of the drips that we're like, oh, this is really interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe last question. So I spent 3 beautiful years with you and Kayla, and like instrumental in my life. And I want you to talk a little bit about the creation of My Aligned Purpose and where it stemmed from. What is it? What does it mean to you? Where is it going? What are you offering? All of the things.
Fun question.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the 3 years with you. I want 3 more. I want decades. But again, I am a master manifester, so I'll just put it out there and see what happens.
Fair, received.
My Aligned Purpose. It started with me wanting a podcast in early 2020, and I was journaling that I wanted
damn
a
microphone
podcast.
in your face. No, that's what you've always wanted. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, is this cutting me off?
No.
Yes, I wanted a podcast. I wanted the microphone. So I was journaling. I wanted a podcast. I had no business. I had no website. I had no link in bio. I had no public page. I wasn't like, I want a podcast so I can lead people somewhere. I was like, I want a podcast because I want the microphone. So I YouTubed and taught myself everything I would need to know to start and grow a podcast because I didn't know one other person with a podcast that I knew. I knew famous people with podcasts, but I didn't know somebody that could be like, hey, can you show me how to start a podcast?
Right.
So I thought, well, I'll figure it out on my own. And the only thing that stopped me from hitting go was I wanted, to me, the perfect name. Like, what is the best name for this? And so I'd walk and walk and walk, and I was walking around the Gorge waterway there. That's where I lived at the time. And I would walk and I would say, like, please just give me such a good name that I'm going to love. And then finally one day it just dropped, My Aligned Purpose. And I was like, that's it. I love it. That has such a deep meaning for me in all of the ways. I have my own way that I feel aligned, and it's with the chakra system. Purpose. I like to live in purpose and be on purpose. And I want it to be mine, personal. So I thought, okay, I've got the name. I'm going to put the podcast out there. Started the podcast. It's going to be 5 this month.
Wow.
March 25th on my birthday. It will
How
be
many
5
episodes?
years old. 440.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good work. Okay.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So started that. And then that spring, after I started the podcast, Kayla and I got hired by the same coaching company to be associate coaches. And we were both new coaches. And so we were practicing on one another. And so we would meet every Monday morning on Zoom. We'd pour our coffee and Kayla would coach me for half an hour, and then we'd stop and say, okay, I took my notes. Okay, now I'm going to coach you for half an hour. And at the time, what we were coaching each other on was Kayla had a blog that she wasn't monetizing called The Money Edit, and she really wanted to get that off the ground. And I only had the podcast. I had nothing else, but I had all of these ideas for manifesting courses that I wanted to do. So she was helping me with that. And we're back and forth. And then May rolls around, and the woman that we were coaching with said, it's a pandemic and I'm losing clients and I can't guarantee that I can get you to any more clients. So you're going to have to go out on your own and figure this out on your own. And well, if you know Kayla and I separately, individually, we are determined, we are resilient, and we both have that hustle motivation in us. So we hung up the phone, we called each other, and we were like, all right, are we doing this? Like, what can we do? And we said, what if we combine the two things that we've been coaching each other on? So she'd been coaching me on manifesting. I'd been coaching her on money. We are like, we could make a course together, and it could be manifesting money masterclass. We had no website. We had no Instagram. We had no launch plan. We didn't have a funnel in place, didn't know any of this terminology, no email list, nothing. We said, let's just tell the people we know that we're going to do this course. People knew that I liked manifesting. I mean, at this time, I'm 34. Like I had told you, I had been into manifesting since I was like 22. Kayla had been talking about money since 2014, and now it's 2020. So we just said, if you want to take this course with us, it's $189, and we'll figure out, we set up a Stripe, and here you can pay for it through this way. And we had 50 people sign up. It was aunts, it was cousins, it was friends, it was past colleagues, it was parents of students I taught. Like people came out of the woodwork because they wanted manifesting money techniques. So that took off. I mean, the math on that's a $10,000 launch. We were just like, well, I don't think we called it launch because I don't think we had that term at the time. But we were just like, holy shit, this worked. Let's keep going. So then we made our next course right away, halfway through Manifesting Money Masterclass. We were like, well, we need to sell something else. So we created a course called Elevate Your Voice, Elevate Your Business, which was about accessing your throat chakra to be able to be more vocal and visible online. And had 30 some people sign up to that. And then in August, so that was June, July. Then in August, we were like, what are we going to do? Let's sell Manifesting Money Masterclass again. So we sold it again. It wasn't lifetime access. And we had 50 people sign up again. Some people bought it twice. We were like, okay, people just love Manifesting Money Masterclass. Then Kayla went on mat leave. Kayla had a baby that fall. And I was kind of stressing out. I was like, oh my God, I don't know systems. Like, what are we going to do here? I do know the chakra system inside and out. I can speak about this all day long. I'm going to run an 8-week mastermind on the chakra system. Kayla helped me set it up before you have your baby, and got 16 people into that. And I just actually recorded a podcast on this. We charged $800 for that. And I thought, nobody's going to pay $800 for 8 weeks. And then 16 people bought that. And I just thought, okay, here we go. I'm in the world of entrepreneurship and course creation and mini masterminds and talking about things I like to talk about. And I think because I've always just went for what feels natural to me, what I can talk about. I wasn't trying to teach anything I didn't know. I never have. I never will. I just like to talk about things I have personal experience with and feel good in. And then before that mastermind was up at the end of 2020, Kayla was home with her baby. I was down visiting my sister in the States. I called Kayla up and I said, I see people are doing year-long coaching things. Do you want to see if anybody will do a year-long coaching thing? Let's say it's $10,000. So our mastermind has been like the same price for like 5 years. It's time to up our price. $10,000. Let's see if we can get 6 people. And I went on Instagram. And we had started our Instagram that summer. I went on Instagram and I said, hey, we're going to do a year-long coaching program. We're going to take you through the chakra system. So we're going to take the chakra system and break that up. It's going to be like on energetics and business and who wants to come on in. And we had 7 people. And in that first 24 hours. So we were like, we didn't even try and sell it anymore. We were just like, oh, we got the 6 people we wanted done. I don't think we talked about it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of what's now Align CEO Method. It was platinum at the time. At the same time, we launched Coffee Club, which was a $19 a month membership. We built community over personal development and our love of coffee and money and mindset. And then we've just kept going and going and going. And as I mentioned, like 8 months in, people were seeing that we were building business, and having a really fun way of approaching business. And it's always been our own way. And so we just really transitioned into that, and then got into retreats and then podcasting. And now where we're going, I mean, it's been such a journey over the 5 years. And I'm sure even your experience from year 1 through year 2, through year 3 is just like, you have felt the evolution, I'm sure. And now where we're going is She Leads, coming this April, feels like, the biggest thing that I've ever been a part of in my life. It feels way bigger than me and beyond anything I ever knew I'd be doing. I can't stop thinking about it. I live in April 25th. That's where my brain is every day. So that's fun, getting into events. And our goal for this year is to just like totally blow up the podcast YouTube events where we wrote our book. We were going to be launching our book this spring and we're holding off. We're going to launch later in 2025 in the fall. And continue to go with Aligned CEO Method. That's our baby. That's what we love. That's where we want to hang out. I want to support all the women business owners in there and for the foreseeable future. But yeah, what the future looks like is big events, having fun podcasting, YouTubing, and coaching women to actually enjoy their business and make money.
Amazing. I'm just like celebrating, and I actually didn't know this until now, how quickly success, whatever that word is, but like a 10K first launch without even knowing you're launching. And then kind of again, and then 16 people at $800 is like, I don't know, 14 grand, 15 grand. Like you guys were just, the universe was like, yes, 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 yes. Do this, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
So
Off
supported.
the back of me trying to do this for like arguably quite a few years. I had a nonprofit that I started and I never paid myself a penny from 2017 till 2020. I tried to like get big in the yoga world and I couldn't seem to like ever make more than a few $100s a week or an event. I had journals filled with like, I want to do all these courses and things like that, but I could never get them up and off the ground on my own. And then same with Kayla, like she had painting, she had butter, she had this blog, she had all of these things, but they weren't it. It was like, we had to come together and just do what we actually like to do and talk about the things we actually like to talk about. And then the universe was like, here you go. But for everybody listening, I want to make it very clear that I tried and failed at many things before feeling like, oh, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good reminder. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. Well, on the topic of my Aligned Purpose, what is happening right now? Are doors always open to Aligned CEO Method? What's happening? What are you offering? How can people work in your space?
Great
Tell
question.
us the things.
Right now, the doors are open, but we are going to be closing them this May.
Okay.
So we used to have closed enrollment for 3 years. Then for the last 2 years, it's been open. We're experimenting, but we are going to close them in May. So if you want to get in now. Where can people work with us? Honestly, I feel like just come get to know us, listen to the podcast, come over to Instagram. These are like free places that you can hang out and decide if you like what we're into, you vibe with us, that sort of thing. And then keep your eyes open for, we'll be doing a launch of Aligned CEO Method in May. It's going to have lots of fun bonuses and things added in, but then the doors will close. And of course, She Leads, which is happening at the Oak Bay Beach Hotel, April 25th and 26th. But outside of that, nothing necessarily for sale. It's just, Aligned CEO Method is for sale. That's where we want to hang out. That's where we spend our time. If that feels like it's not for everyone, but if it's for you and it feels like something you want, then send us a message. Otherwise, just come hang out, poke around and see what's up.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm going to share my journey. So and you know this story very well, but I had worked in fitness forever and had never invested in myself ever for various reasons, so many money stories. And I didn't know anyone else that was hiring coaches. So never really crossed my mind. And then when I left fitness and moved into breath work, and then the pandemic hit, and then there was like, everything was just burning to the ground and changing. Something came over me. I was listening to a podcast. It was about women like really taking ownership and control and their power back over money. It was a podcast really about investing. So, not so much the same, but kind of. And I went home and opened Facebook, and this ad popped up. And pre-pandemic, I was hosting retreats in Bali and Greece, and we had these really cool retreats set up. And this ad came up on Facebook of course, are you a retreat leader looking to pivot in this, in these challenging times? And I was like, I am. How did you know? Facebook. So I clicked on this ad and watched this like 45-minute webinar, signed up for the consult call, which, was an hour-long sales call, which I knew it would be. And anyways, at the end of the call, it's like, okay, it's $10,000 for this year-long group coaching program with these two coaches based out of Bali, this man and this woman. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to take $10,000 out of my TFSA and I'm going to hire these coaches and we're going to do something. This is going to be super exciting. So I do that. And it was probably a month later that you came into my world. And I then came into Coffee Club. And so I'm working with these coaches, and because they're in Bali, first of all, our call times were like 10 p.m. for me. So that was already a whole thing. And the program consisted of like a follow along literal program, and then I think it was 2 group calls a month. Now, there could be upwards of like 40 people, 50 people on this call. And if you don't chime in and say, I have a question, like right off the bat, you might not get spoken to for the next like hour and a half. So then we're looking at like 11 or 11:30 p.m. It just was this whole thing. Anyway, the foundation of the program was really about you creating this big high ticket program and running ads to it. So on top of spending the $10,000 on their program, I'm then being what I would call like forced into doing Facebook ads, which I know nothing about. So then I spent a whole bunch of other money like quickly, as you know, like I dropped, I don't know, definitely $1,000 in like less than a week. And immediately was like, I want nothing to do with this. Like, I don't even know what I'm running ads to. I don't know what my program is. Like, what is this? Kind of hating every minute of this whole thing. On the backside, I'm getting involved in your world, you and Kayla, and the community. And I'm just feeling so resonant. And you were talking about what was platinum at the time, which is an outline CEO method. Talking about it, and it was coming up to like doors were opening soon. And I was having this moment of like, oh fuck, what do I do? Like, these are my people. And I've just already dipped into my savings. I'm not making any money right now. What do I do? Well, I just dipped into my savings again. I just did it again. And that was the start of year 1. And I mean, in that first year, I launched the membership, which used to be the Essentials. I started running events all over the place. I started running events online. I started seeing myself in a way that I had never seen myself before. And it was like, I hope you know, I trust you do, how impactful it was, like how impactful it was, which is why I stayed for 3 years. And it just kept getting better and better and better. And those coaches never followed up. I just disappeared and they never, never followed up. Not my people. Anyway, you and Kayla have done and continue to do just like such good work. And I'm so excited to know you and to learn from you, both of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been so cool to like see the journey view of everyone, but like, if we're talking about you specifically, we got to be a part of you moving homes, different relationships, traveling, like all this sort of stuff, your podcast, like there's been so much that has happened in the last 3 years, and we got to be a part of that. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So much goodness has come from that. And it all started because you reached out and said, I'd like to do a breathwork session and let's get you on the podcast and you should come into my community. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I was like, do you sell essential oils? Can I buy some essential oils off you? Right. You do breath work. You were like, yeah, I want to come to my house. I'm like, okay. Never met you before. I'm like, going to come to your house. Little sweet Tucker was there. It was your old house. We did breath work. I was like, you need to come on the podcast. This is amazing. Yeah.
Look at us now. You're coming over for a potluck in a couple days.
I know. So good.
So good. Yay. Any final bits to share? Any like words of wisdom for the women listening? I mean, you've already shared so much, but
Yeah, my words of wisdom are, this is for everyone all the time, every day, just such a great reminder. Please, 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 please do something today that allows you to be introspective, that allows you to go inward, because there's a lot of noise out there. It can be noisy. It can be distracting. You might not know. You might think, I don't even know what I want. And that's pretty common in a very busy, loud, distracting world. So take some time. Even if you've told yourself that meditation doesn't work for you, or you don't believe in visualization, or you're bored of journaling, or whatever it is, can you do something that doesn't require anybody else? Breath work. Allow yourself to do something that allows you to just go in and ask yourself, like, what do I really want? And then instead of forcing the answer or going to Instagram to see what you really want, or asking your partner or your best friend, just listen for a little bit, like maybe 5 minutes, just listen. And maybe you don't hear anything today. And then just sit back down tomorrow and sit down for 5 minutes and say, this is what I really, really, really want. Show me the way. What do I need to do? Who do I need to connect with? What's the next step I need to take? Listen, the answers will start to reveal themselves, but only if you create the space to hear.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.